Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. And today, we're going to do something.
Okay.
Well, it's not totally out there, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be different. It's not one of our, normal deep dives. Because one of our listeners wrote in.
Okay.
And they're fascinated by this idea of how communities communicate and how, over the decades, how that's evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So they suggested that we take a look at Rotary Club newsletters.
Oh, okay.
And specifically the Rotary Club of Hamilton.
Interesting.
And I said, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And the more I started looking into it, the more fascinated I became. Because what we have is like this gold mine of information from the Rotary Club of Hamilton, going back over a century, 1913.
Okay, so this is like a historical record.
It is.
Of the club.
It is.
And potentially of the community, too.
Yeah.
You can probably tease out a lot of what was happening in the community just by looking at what the Rotary Club was focusing on at the time.
So we're looking at the Ambassador Rotary newsletter. But that wasn't always the name. Was it?
Let me guess. I bet it went through a few iterations.
It did.
Before landing on something as grand as Ambassador.
Yes. And I think you're going to like some of these names.
Okay.
So it started out as The Roster.
The Roster.
Okay. Then it was Rotary Writings.
Okay.
Then we've got The Crier. Then we've got The Beacon.
Oh, wow.
And then finally, The Ambassador.
They really went for it in the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
Almost like a diplomatic mission,
right.
spreading the word of Hamilton.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to see that evolution. Right. You start with the roster, which sounds very internal. Right?
It is like a list of members almost. Very functional.
Exactly. And then you move to these other titles, like The Crier, which suggests this desire to be heard.
Yeah, like they wanted to have a voice in the community, make a statement.
Right. Exactly. So what can we learn, from the content of these newsletters? So we've got physical copies going back to 2005, and then online versions scattered through the years leading up to 2025.
Oh, wow. So we've got a pretty good span of time here.
We do. We do.
So we can really see how things have changed.
Yeah. So let's jump in and just pick a year and see what we can find. What about 2012?
Okay, so what was the name of the newsletter then?
That was The Beacon.
The Beacon. Okay. So what were they shining a light on in 2012?
Well, one of the things that really jumps out is their focus on local environmental initiatives.
Oh, interesting.
And it's right around the time that, climate change was becoming a major national conversation.
Right.
And you see the Hamilton Rotary Club stepping up to address it.
Locally.
Okay.
So they were reflecting the national conversation,
right,
but bringing it down to a community level.
Exactly. And not just reflecting it, but actively engaging with it.
Okay. That's great.
Something else happens. In 2014,
What's that?
they go from weekly newsletters
Oh, wow.
to monthly.
Okay.
And they start using social media. So were they losing steam? Or was this a strategic move?
Well, it could be a bit of both, right? I mean, keeping up a weekly newsletter, that's a huge undertaking, especially for a volunteer organization. So maybe they were feeling a bit burned out. But I think it's also smart to adapt to the changing media landscape, right?
Well,
social media was becoming more and more important. So it makes sense that they would want to use that to reach a wider audience.
So they can focus on higher quality content for the monthly newsletter.
Exactly. And then use social media for more, day-to-day updates.
Okay, so why should you care about all of this, but dusty old Rotary Club newsletters?
Well, think about it. These newsletters, they're a window into your community's past. They might mention the park you played in as a kid, the fundraising efforts that built your local hospital, even your own family members who were active in the community.
Wow, that's true.
It's personal history.
It is. And it's not just about names and dates.
Right. You can get a feel for what people cared about, what they struggled with, what made them proud to call Hamilton home. These newsletters are like a time capsule of community values.
And imagine comparing different years.
Right, like 2010 to 2019.
Yeah.
How did the tone change? What new challenges arose? What victories did they celebrate? You're tracing the story of Hamilton through the lens of this one organization.
That's fascinating.
It is.
It really shows that you can find amazing insights in the most unexpected places.
Yeah. So as you go about your day, maybe you'll be inspired to look into the history of your own community and see what stories you can uncover.
Happy digging.